They called it Eldergrove, a secluded coastal settlement said to be founded centuries ago by a group of pioneers who wanted to disappear from the rest of the world. Tucked away between towering cliffs and miles of dense, whispering pines, Eldergrove wasn't marked on any modern map. Only a few weathered cartographer notes and a half-burned journal hinted at its existence. Vincent Hale, an ambitious young documentarian, stumbled upon those clues while researching obscure colonial legends for his new project, Lost Civilizations of the Unknown. Vincent had traveled the world before, but something about Eldergrove consumed him. The journal described a community that vanished overnight, leaving behind empty homes, uneaten meals, and a single word carved into stone, Sablemore. No explanation. No survivors. No records. Just silence. Vincent couldn't resist. Armed with his camera gear, drone, and a sense of eerie excitement, he set out for the northern coast, where the journal suggested Eldergrove had once stood. With him was his skeptical sound engineer, Marla and Malik, a quiet but loyal local guide who'd grown up hearing whispers about the cursed place. As they hiked into the forest, an unnatural hush settled over the trees. No birds. No wind. Even the crunch of leaves underfoot felt wrong. Vincent recorded everything, speaking into the camera with the calm authority of a man who believed he was chasing nothing more than a long-lost myth. But by the second day Malik grew tense. "I think we passed that tree already," he muttered, eyeing a thick oak scarred with a triple gash mark. "There's something off. The paths don't stay the same here." Vincent dismissed it. This is exactly what legends do. They feed paranoia. But by nightfall they found something that chilled even Vincent's skepticism. They stumbled into a clearing. Old houses stood in perfect stillness, untouched by time but oddly wrong. The doors were open, tables still set, and chairs slightly pulled back like their occupants had just stood up mid-meal. Marla whispered, "It looks staged." Vincent began filming. "We found Eldergrove," he said to the lens. "And it appears preserved. But the question is, who preserved it?" As the sun dipped below the horizon, the trees groaned. A low, constant creaking, not of wood but something heavier. Marla checked her sound equipment. It was picking up static even though they were off-grid. Something about the frequency made her nauseous. Then Malik screamed. They spun around. He was standing at the edge of the forest, frozen, staring up at one of the trees. On its bark, fresh and wet, was a single word scrawled in something dark. Sablemore. "We need to leave," he said, backing away. "Now." But Vincent had already crossed the threshold into the nearest house, camera rolling. Inside, dust floated through the light like snowfall. The walls were lined with old sketches of stars and strange symbols. A mirror stood at the end of the hallway, cracked down the middle. In its fractured reflection, Vincent saw movement. He turned. Nothing. Then Marla shouted from outside. "Vincent, you need to see this." He ran out to find her pointing at the sky. The clouds were moving too fast, as if time itself had fractured. Static filled the air again. Vincent's drone lifted into the air to scan the village from above. It showed 12 homes. But when Vincent looked at the feed seconds later, it showed 11. One house was gone. Not destroyed. Not collapsed. Just vanished. The camera feed glitched. The signal died. As Vincent stared at the black screen, a voice whispered from behind a nearby tree. "They see you now." The forest seemed to close in that night. No matter where Vincent pointed his flashlight, the shadows never shrank. They twisted and flickered like they were alive. Marla kept glancing over her shoulder while Malik stood silently by the fire, his arms crossed tightly. "We're not supposed to be here," he said. "People don't find Eldergrove. It finds them." Vincent scoffed, but his voice had lost its usual conviction. "Let's just get the footage and get out." One more sweep at first light. But when morning came, the landscape had shifted. Paths they'd used before now curved in different directions. One of the houses they'd filmed, the one that disappeared on the drone feed, had returned. But this time its door was shut tight. A single handprint, long and stretched like it had too many joints, marked the window pane. Marla refused to go near it. "This isn't just some derelict town. Something's playing with us." Vincent insisted on filming inside. The house was colder than the rest. As Vincent stepped through the door, his breath fogged up in thick puffs. The walls were lined with names, scrawled, carved, painted, dozens of names overlapping each other, many in different languages. And one of them was his. Vincent Hale. He staggered back, dropping his camera. Malik caught him. "That's how it starts," Malik muttered. "Starts. When they remember you." Suddenly, A loud knock echoed from upstairs. 3 knocks. Slow. Heavy. Marla screamed from outside. Vincent and Malik rushed out to find her backing away from the trees. Something was moving in the pines. Not walking, gliding. A pale figure, draped in something that shimmered like fog, slid between the trunks. It didn't seem to notice them, until it stopped, and turned its head. No eyes. Just hollow sockets. And yet Vincent felt the weight of its stare. The trees began to hum. Marla yelled, "Run!" They bolted into the woods. No direction. Just away. The deeper they went, the more the forest bent. Trees leaned inward, forming a canopy that blocked the sun. Time warped. Their watches froze. Their gear malfunctioned. Vincent's camera screen looped a few seconds of footage from the day before. Again and again. Then the trees opened up to another clearing. But this one wasn't empty. People stood there. Dozens of them. Motionless. Pale. Eyes wide open but unseeing. Vincent whispered, "Are they alive?" A woman in the front blinked. "What?" Then they all raised their arms in perfect unison, pointing at the crew. From behind them, a whisper rolled through the pines, cold and deliberate. "You've been counted." Vincent, Marla, and Malik didn't move. The silent crowd stared at them, arms extended, eyes unblinking. There was something unnatural in their stillness, like mannequins waiting for command. Marla's breath hitched. "This isn't real." Then all at once, the figures lowered their arms and stepped backward, melting into the tree line as if they'd never been there. The woods swallowed them in seconds. Malik grabbed Vincent's arm. "We have to leave now, before it marks us again." Vincent hesitated, then nodded. "Back to the village. Maybe we missed a path." But as they retraced their steps, a sickening realization set in. The layout had changed again. The forest paths, once familiar, now twisted like veins around them. Trees they marked were gone. Time felt wrong, too stretched in some moments, too compressed in others. Hours passed. Or maybe minutes. They couldn't tell anymore. Then Malik stumbled into a clearing, and froze. A new house stood there. One none of them had seen before. It was taller than the others, the wood untouched by time or weather. Its windows glowed faintly from within, though no light source was visible. Vincent stared at it, whispering, "That wasn't here before." Marla shook her head. There were 12 houses. Now this makes 13. Something about that number felt heavy, final. Against every instinct, Vincent raised his camera and approached. The moment he stepped onto the porch, the door creaked open on its own. Inside was darkness, but not empty darkness. He breathed. He turned to the others. "Stay out here. I just want a shot of the interior." Malik grabbed his sleeve. "That house wasn't built. It was summoned. Whatever's inside, it knows you." But Vincent pulled free and stepped in. Inside, the air turned thick, damp, and suffocating. The moment he crossed the threshold, his equipment died. No static. Just silence. Then a sound echoed, soft and rhythmic. A lullaby. Not sung but hummed, like a mother soothing a child. It was coming from upstairs. Vincent's legs moved on their own. Each step up the staircase groaned underfoot. The hallway at the top stretched impossibly long, with doors on either side, some open, others sealed shut with red wax. Halfway through he saw it. A mirror. But this one wasn't cracked. It reflected perfectly, except for one thing. His reflection didn't follow his movements. Vincent raised his hand. The reflection smiled. He stepped closer, and it stepped forward too, as if walking toward the surface from inside the glass. Their noses nearly touched. Then the reflection whispered, "You've seen too much." From behind, a door slammed open. Vincent spun, heart racing. Inside the room was a small child sitting on a rocking chair, holding an old stuffed rabbit. The child looked up slowly. Its eyes were sewn shut. Vincent backed away. The lullaby grew louder. Then silence. The mirror shattered behind him with a deafening shriek, and the reflection was gone. But where the shards landed, they spelled a word in jagged fragments. Remain. Vincent bolted down the stairs, barely making it outside before collapsing. Malik and Marla rushed to him, helping him to his feet. "What happened?" Marla asked. Vincent's voice was hollow. "It showed me. It wants a record. It wants someone to remember what happens here." Malik paled. "That's why the village comes back. It's feeding on stories. It doesn't want to be forgotten." Suddenly, the sound of children laughing echoed from behind the trees. Faint at first, then closer. Too close. A small girl emerged from the woods, dragging a broken doll. She looked straight at Vincent. "You're staying, right?" Behind her, the other villagers began to step into view again, one by one, silently filling the clearing, forming a perfect circle around them. They had returned. The girl's voice echoed long after her lips stopped moving. Vincent stared at her, unable to respond. Her question wasn't innocent. It wasn't curious. It was a sentence. Malik took a step back, pulling Marla with him. We're surrounded. The clearing was filling rapidly, figures emerging from between trees, silent and composed. Their skin pale, their clothes stuck in decades-long fashion, their faces blank. At least 30 now, maybe more. Vincent tried to lift his camera. Nothing. The screen stayed black. We need to run, Marla hissed. No, Malik's voice was sharp. That's what they want. You run, you get lost again. We stay still. Let them move. But the villagers weren't moving closer. They just stared, unmoving, their eyes flicking between Vincent and the 13th house behind them. The girl with the doll spoke again. You open the gate. Vincent swallowed. What gate? She blinked slowly. The house chose you. Then, as if on cue, the villagers turned their heads in unison, toward the forest path leading deeper into the woods. One by one they began to walk. Not toward the trio, but away. Follow them, Malik said. It's better than walking blind. They followed in silence, the villagers weaving through narrow trails that hadn't existed moments before. Trees arched overhead, twisting to form a tunnel of limbs and vines. Somewhere above, the sky throbbed in strange colors, lavender, then blood red, then black. After what felt like hours, the villagers stopped at a circular clearing. In the center stood an ancient stone well, half covered in moss. Symbols were carved all around its edge, circles, eyes, and something like a tree split down the center. Vincent approached it, compelled. What is this? An elderly man in the crowd stepped forward. His voice was barely audible. The first memory. Marla stepped beside Vincent. Memory of what? The man raised a hand and pointed to Vincent's chest. Of you. Suddenly the well emitted a low hum. The ground shook. A blue flame burst from its center, revealing scenes like smoke on water, blurry images, fleeting faces. Vincent saw a version of himself he didn't remember, walking the same woods alone, filming the same ruins, whispering the word Sablemore into his camera. Then, darkness. Then the same scene again. But slightly different. The trees moved in different directions. The words on the stones changed languages. In one vision, Marla wasn't with him. In another, he was alone in the 13th house, screaming. Vincent stepped back. What the hell is this? The old man whispered, all your visits. All your loops. Marla gasped. Vincent, how many times have you been here? Malik's face was pale. He's been chosen before. Vincent shook his head. No. I would have remembered. The girl's voice came again from behind. You did. But you chose to forget. The villagers formed a circle around the well, chanting in a language that made the air vibrate. The forest dimmed. The symbols on the well glowed. Malik grabbed Vincent's shoulder. They're trying to anchor you. Lock you into the cycle. But why me? The girl stepped forward, lifting her doll. Its stitched mouth had come undone. From inside its fabric, a key fell out, old, rusted, ornate. She placed it in Vincent's hand. Because you keep asking questions. The chanting grew louder. The villagers tilted their heads back, eyes glowing white. Vincent turned to the others. We need to get out of this loop. And it. Marla looked at the key. What does it open? Vincent stared at the 13th house rising in the distance again, now far away but somehow visible through the trees, always there. I think it opens the truth. As they stepped away from the well, the chanting stopped. All at once, every villager turned to face them, mouths wide open as if to scream. But no sound came out. Only the wind whispered, "You're almost home." The trees parted for them. No trail, no map, just instinct and a terrible pull guiding Vincent, Marla and Malik back toward the 13th house. The key burned cold in Vincent's hand. The house loomed taller now, its frame warped by time and something darker. The windows were no longer windows, they were watching eyes, flickering with blue flame. "It's waiting," Malik said. It always was. As they approached the crooked porch, the door creaked open by itself. No gust of wind. No motion inside. Just that same silence that had followed them since the first night. Vincent stepped in. Inside the house breathed. Floorboards pulsed beneath their feet like veins. The wallpaper peeled in perfect spirals, revealing murals painted underneath, each one showing Vincent in a different time, wearing different clothes, holding the same camera. You've been many versions, Marla whispered, reading the drawings. But you never leave. The hallway extended longer than it had any right to. Doors appeared on either side, each labeled with a date. Dates from decades ago, centuries even. He tried one. It opened into a black and white version of Eldergrove, untouched, vibrant, full of life. Children played. Fires burned. People smiled. But when Vincent stepped in, they all turned at once and whispered the same word, Sable Moore. He shut the door. His breathing quickened. They moved down the corridor, the key clutched tighter in his fist, until they reached the final door, completely black. Unlabeled. He inserted the key. The door opened into a room of mirrors, dozens of them, each reflecting a different Vincent. Some older. Some younger. Some terrified. Some smiling with madness. But one mirror was empty. Marla and Malik didn't follow him in. Why aren't you coming? Vincent asked. This part is yours, Malik said. It always has been. You need to remember, Marla whispered, or it all repeats again. The mirror began to ripple. Vincent stepped in. Inside the mirror was a memory, real and raw. He stood in a film studio years ago, arguing with his producer. You can't just make up legends, Vincent, the man shouted. But Eldergrove is real. I've seen the reports, the journals. There is no Eldergrove. It's a myth. Vincent had stormed out that night, took his camera, his notes, and disappeared. Into the forest. The mirror shifted again. He saw himself wandering alone, then finding the village, then waking up back in his studio weeks later, confused, half-mad, with no footage and a blank memory card. And he went again, and again. Vincent fell to his knees. I was the first. The mirror whispered back, and the last. Suddenly all the mirrors shattered. The room shook. From the darkness, the villagers stepped in. Only now he saw their faces clearly. They were all versions of himself. Every failed escape. Every forgotten visit. Every echo. You brought us here, one said. But now, you can free us. The 13th house began to collapse. Walls peeled away like paper. The forest outside curled upward like smoke. Time, memory, self, all breaking apart. Vincent stood tall. No more loops. He reached into his pocket. The key was gone. But in his other hand he still held his camera. He raised it. And hit delete. When Marla opened her eyes, she was sitting at the edge of a cliff, alone. The forest behind her was normal. Birds chirped. Wind rustled the leaves. There was no Eldergrove. No 13th house. No Vincent. Only his camera sat beside her, intact. She picked it up, fingers trembling, and pressed play. The screen flickered. A single frame, Vincent smiling. Peaceful. Behind him, the village burned in silence. Then black. Then a final whisper etched into the static. Remember, so they don't return. Marla stood, staring out into the ocean. And for the first time in days the world felt real.